Alright folks, I've been keeping well. I am on the tail end of being ill, so I thought I may as well do something productive and make a video. So at this point we are well into spring and summer's just over the horizon. The days are warming up, the layers are coming off and changing, so I thought I'd do a reflection on some of the items of clothing that have kept me warm and comfortable travelling and working outdoors this winter. Now, I spent the winter in two halves. I spent the first half in the south of Italy, travelling around in Calabria and Puglia. Definitely a different climate, season's a bit longer, drier, warmer, and then I came back over to where I am now in Wales and started working on farms in the wet and the cold. So, different climates, different needs, but I'm going to go over the backbone of the kit that has seen me through the winter, things that I'd recommend. Starting off with underlayers, base layers. My undefeated champion of vintage style underlayers is this merino wool Henley shirt by Särmä. Särmä being Varusteleka's own brand. Now I've had this one for years and years and years, and I hope at this point everyone knows how I feel about wool, and underlayers are no exception. You ask anyone from a cold country, especially up in the Nordic countries, pretty much everyone has a set of wool underwear. This one, because of the merino wool it's made from, is super soft, super comfortable, super warm, especially good if you're going to be wearing wool shirts through the winter, and it just stops it from, that scratchy wool from irritating your skin too much. Now, it's a classic Henley vintage style, and it's certainly been well loved. Over the years I've had to do a bit of darning here and there, and it's certainly a slightly different colour to the one it started as, but it's done me well, and I can't recommend it enough. So yeah, absolutely, Särmä Henley. Now, I don't really wear long johns that much. It doesn't get super cold in the UK, unless you sit around the campfire in the evening, or if you're, if you wear it at night, if you're camping out or something like that. But usually my legs get pretty hot when I'm walking around and working. But I think these are a Norwegian army pair of long johns. Now, these might be some kind of cotton wool mix. Look into military surplus, you're going to get yourself some good, affordable pair of long johns, or you can go the extra mile and get some wool ones. Again, vintage shopping, you can find some old wool, affordable long johns, or you can pay a bit more money and get some from a fancy company like Särmä. Socks. So socks, really, I can do a whole video about socks. Talk about socks all day. Socks are super important. So these are probably my most staple socks during, all through the seasons really. They're nice, thick, padded Czech army socks. They're made of cotton. You can get them relatively inexpensively on Amazon and eBay. You get a couple pairs for like 30 quid, I think. They're really quite indestructible and they wear nicely. I've got a few pairs that I've had for years that I've kind of repaired here and there, but they've held up really well, and I certainly recommend them, especially if you put hard wear on your feet and you wear like slightly bigger boots. Yeah, Czech army socks. Good, good investment. Now here I have some British Army style extreme cold weather socks. Now these are really great for if you are gonna get wet and cold, or if you're stood around somewhere cold. These are excellent, and especially if you get them brand new, you get a good quality pair, you've got a lot of fluffing here, you've got a lot of insulation to keep you warm. Pretty inexpensive, pretty cheap, you can find them. Try and get like high wool percentage, especially if you get genuine British Army, they're usually like 100% wool, I think. I might have to fact check that. So that leads us on to just wool socks in general. Now these are a decent pair of wool socks. I know some people who wear wool all year round, but in the winter, wool socks, absolutely indispensable. Now there's a really good brand, I think they're called Foxes, which is usually the brand that I go for. You can get them in the UK, they're an American brand. You get them in the UK through Civil War Sutler. I'll put all the links in the description below. They're pretty indestructible, and they've seen me through a fair few miles. But yep, moving on. So next we're going to be talking about shirts. Now shirts take many different forms. Personal favourite of mine is the utility or work shirt or field shirt. Essentially a well-made shirt in a decent working material, two sizable chest pockets, a nice collar, usually buttons all the way down, and a relaxed, roomy fit so you can move and work without being too constricted. So this first shirt is made from a kind of mid to heavyweight moleskin, not moleskin, more of a brushed cotton in this lovely green. Now this is actually from kind of a high street brand, Jack and Jones. I think I got it second hand, but you know, workwear and kind of especially the overshirt has become a big thing in kind of high street fashion, or you know, mainstream fashion. So you can source these relatively easily from sort of modern brands, especially if you're looking on Vinted, if you're looking on eBay, or if you're looking charity shops or whatever. This one has held up really well. I've put it through some real hard work through all seasons in the UK, working outdoors, and through the colder months in the winter in the south of Italy. And structurally it's held up really well. I really like how the colour has changed. So for most of the shirt, it's got this kind of golden, worn, threadbare, yellowish tinge to it, which is kind of cool, you know, as the sun has bleached it and it's rubbed up against things. But if you turn the collar back, you can see this more foresty green, which is the original colour, and also here on the lower arms, where I always roll my sleeves up for work. And those signs of wear I always think are really cool and tell you a lot about the person who wears them. Really builds character for a piece. So this is a really good piece for slightly warmer days during the winter, or if you're layering up. The brushing on the cotton with this raised nap gives it a little bit more insulation, and it's definitely a hard wearing option. Now next up we have the wool shirt. Now anyone who's into vintage clothing or into natural fabrics understands the beauty and the practicality of wool. And in the vintage world, you have your Pendletons, you have your Woolriches, you have all manner of different brands that have made wool shirts over the years. And you can find these relatively easily on eBay, on Vinted, looking at vintage shops, you know, if you're lucky in a charity shop. If you look around, you'll find them. Some of these companies still produce them for less than ideal prices and less than ideal wool quantities, but they're out there and you can find them. This piece, however, is special to me because I have made this piece. I made this shirt from some fabric that I had made by Abraham Moons, who make exceptional wool fabric. And I was very scared to cut into the fabric for a long time until I knew what I wanted to make. When I came back from Italy, I put this one together, and yeah, it's a very special piece to me. This winter I've worn it almost every day out working, and it's incredibly durable, incredibly warm, and I'm very proud of it. The colours, you know, this fabric is some of my most favourite fabric I've ever seen in wool. The ochres, the dead brackens, the heathers, it blends so beautifully in with the UK winter landscape, especially out here in the west of Wales. So, moving on to another wool shirt. This is a shirt that I haven't made. This is made by another modern company, Passenger Design to Wonder. I don't know much about Passenger, but I've had a flick through their website, and I've definitely worn this shirt a fair amount. And I think that their designed audience are, you know, people who are looking for casual, quality-made clothing with kind of an air to being outdoors. And this shirt is absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous. I got it on Vinted for a really good price, and I love the colours and I love the fit. You know, it provides a lot of freedom of movement to be working. Now it boasts an impressive 68% wool. That's almost 70% wool, which nowadays, you know, especially for a kind of a less specialist brand, shall we say, and especially considering this is about £100, it's pretty decent. Pretty decent for the thickness of fabric, and it's also very, very soft. So if you find wool to be quite itchy, this might be a good way to go. If you're wearing an undershirt underneath, I can certainly recommend this beautiful wool shirt. So next, moving on to trousers. Now trousers are something that I'm always looking for a decent source of. I put a lot of wear on my clothing with my lifestyle, and trousers take the brunt of all of that wear. All the dirt, all the abuse that you face when working outdoors. Having a good pair of trousers that fit you well and are comfortable are worth their weight in gold, that's for sure. Now when we're talking about looking for vintage style and vintage silhouettes, Trousers are probably one of the most difficult, finicky things to try and source. I'm very particular about my clothes. I like them to fit a certain way, and I like them to perform a certain way and look a certain way, because I'm autistic, to be honest with you. This is a set of moleskin work trousers made by Bronson MFG, who are a real staple of my workwear wardrobe. Bronson MFG makes some really lovely, high quality vintage workwear, and as you can see, they have been well loved and well worn. I worn these a hell of a lot when I was labouring and landscaping, and they are made from such a thick and durable fabric. They are so warm and so comfortable to move around in, and yeah, just super dense and super well made. Moving on, we have corduroy, which is another favourite fabric of mine for the winter. It is super soft, really warm, really comfortable to move around in, and if you get a decent quality thick corduroy, it can be surprisingly durable. Now, there's a lot of different companies making corduroy trousers. You can find corduroy trousers pretty easily on Vinted. If you look for more of like the classic cut, gentleman's cut corduroy trousers, they're usually going to be to a more vintage style with a higher waist and a fuller leg. If you're looking for an even more vintage style, more of a Victorian, super high waist, nice fishtail for braces, then I definitely suggest Darcy Clothing's cords. They're pricey, but they are well made, and I have beasted them and tested them time and time through work in the outdoors, and they hold up very, very well. So another pair of moleskins here, beautifully made. Peter Christian, I think these are. I ended up adding some brace buttons to them. Again, these are a modern piece, but with nod towards classic style. They've definitely got a more tapered fit to them, but it's really quite practical when working outdoors. They don't get caught on things as easily. The fabric is really thick and comfortable and soft and durable, and the colour on them is beautiful. They've got a nice high waist, and you can kind of wear them as more of a mid to high waist, and they won't look too funny either, depending on your preference. So they're very versatile. So yeah, those are the main trousers I've been wearing this winter. Right folks, this is me day 2 coming back after having grabbed some more trousers from my car. These are the 2 trousers I brought with me in the south of Italy when I was backpacking. First up, oh shit, that's important. First up, we have this pair, which has really been a bit of a constant companion of mine over the last almost 2 years now, I think. These are Bronson MFGs, I think 14 or 15 ounce heavyweight selvage denim jeans. They are a 1960s cut, which I absolutely love. They're nice. They have a nice straight relaxed leg without being too baggy, and a nice high rise and belt loops. And I mean, you can see the state of them. I have absolutely worn them in and battered them. And I mean, I know they're only almost 2 years old, but still, considering the fact that I wore them almost every day for almost 2 years, I think they've held up pretty well. Now, they have seen so much abuse and use. They've lived a pretty heavy life on the road, travelling around, hiking, out in the bush, labouring on farms, around cities, doing this, that and the other, you name it, I've put them through it. And thus we have some beautiful fading and some beautiful wearing, and a lot of rips and a lot of tears and fraying. But overall, these have absolutely been the best pair of jeans I've ever owned, and I'll be certainly trying to replace them when they bring them out in stock. Another thing that I didn't mention yesterday was waistcoats. Now, this waistcoat is a waistcoat I took to Italy, and this is a waistcoat that has been with me for a good few years now. And like my jeans and like a lot of things that I own that are my favourites, they've seen a lot of wear and a lot of use through my lifestyle, I suppose. This one is another special one for me because I made this alongside my friend Aurora over at Vetch and Clover. It's cut very short, even short compared to a lot of vintage waistcoats, to reflect the style of the kind of early to mid 19th century. Very high waistline, short collar, which I really like, and linen back with a tie back. Now, a waistcoat is such a useful layer, especially if you're spending time outdoors. It can really make the difference between being comfortable and not, and it's so lightweight and breathable. And if you've got good pockets, like I've got a good few pockets here and a pocket inside for my phone, it's really handy when carrying shit, especially if you're out labouring or farming. You know what it's like, the more pockets you have, the better. Although you do end up losing a lot of miscellaneous shit in your pockets. Someone once told me that the sign of a good day's work, working on farms and labouring, you get to the end of the day and your pockets are full of miscellaneous shit and tat and stuff from repairing things, or bits of baling twine and screws and staples and all kinds of things. Now, I am very much of the opinion that any outdoors folk worth their salt should have or be striving to find their perfect wool jumper. Now, this has been my faithful companion piece for the last few years. This is an Aran jumper made by J.M. Cooper, I believe. It's 100% British wool. It's made from a kind of middle to heavyweight sort of Aran weight wool in this beautiful, versatile, like charcoal colour. I think they do a few other colours. I'll link all these things in the description below so you can have a look. The knit is a little bit looser than what I'd usually have for an outdoors working jumper. So although it does get caught in things sometimes, it's still incredibly flexible. And I can move around and do all the things I need to do unhindered by a kind of tight woven, kind of a sturdier, more tight woven jumper. And this is my faithful companion. I throw this in my knapsack, throw it in my bag, I throw it in my car, wherever I'm going. This comes with me. So yes, absolutely find yourself a good wool jumper that you like and is versatile and practical for the outdoors. Wool is key. Hey Rocket. Hey darling. Yeah. Yeah? You wanna say hi? Go on, fella. Next we're going to be talking about jackets and coats. Now, I'm a man of many jackets, but if I had to pick one, absolutely every time it would be the Labrador wool chore jacket. I've had this jacket for a long time, many years. It was the first thing I bought, the first quality heritage piece that I bought when I first started showing an interest back when I was in college. And I wore it all through college. I wore it all through labouring and landscaping. I wore it working in the woods. It has been an absolute companion to me. And it is, in terms of its versatility, its quality, its craftsmanship, its durability, its warmth, its overall companionship to my life, honestly, it is absolutely unmatched. It is the perfect garment, the perfect versatile jacket for the working outdoors folk, in my opinion. It is a super simple pattern. It's cut wonderfully so that it looks and feels and functions perfectly if you're wearing a t-shirt, if you're wearing a t-shirt, a shirt, t-shirt, shirt, jumper. You can layer up and still move around so well, unrestricted, and do all the jobs and work that you need to do. It is completely indestructible. And I mean, I have beasted this thing through all weather, through all conditions. It has seen all manner of chemicals and substances and abuse, and it is still in one piece. The fabric is something else. You can barely find anything like this anymore. They do not make fabric like this anymore unless it is specially made. It is an incredibly thick and durable 100% French wool. Yep, the Labrador wool chore jacket. Absolutely love it. Next up, we've got a jacket that I've already reviewed on this channel. There is a full review available for you to go and check out, which I recommend you do. This is a bit of a holy grail piece for me because it's just really unique and really cool, and it's based on a very rare and specific esoteric jacket. This is the Civilian Conservation Corps plaid work jacket. This one has been reproduced by Japanese company Rickson, who are a real bouge, top-notch Japanese company. The colors, the richness of the fabric is absolutely beautiful. The thickness, the density, the quality, the warmth of the fabric, again, has been custom made. You cannot find this. The finishing on the inside, we are talking fully taped seams all around. This is a stunner of a garment, and it's just incredibly unique. The shawl collar fits the neck really nicely for when the wind picks up and the weather gets a bit more sour. And the shorter cut with the waistband at the bottom means it's gonna be kept out of the way and not gonna get caught on anything. This is a really good working jacket. Next up we have this old boy. So this is a really beautiful coat that I got for a tenner at Totnes Market. Now it is a vintage suede long double-breasted coat, and it's been worn in really nicely. It's got a really beautiful patina on the front where someone's been doing up the buttons over and over again, and on the pocket flaps. It is made from genuine suede, but unfortunately faux fur on the inside. It's still really nice and warm and still really practical. I wish it was made from a real genuine sheepskin or something like that, or a sustainable fur, because then it would be absolutely unstoppable. But overall, this is a really nice piece and it looks pretty badass, I must say. Next up, we have another holy grail piece of mine. This is an US Army M1926 wool mackinaw. Now, they had their early origins, I think, as motorcycle jackets in, I think, either before or during the First World War. And then the designation and details were tweaked subtly up until it was replaced by the canvas-covered Jeep coat that a lot of people will be familiar with in the Second World War. This particular example, I'm still not 100% on the origins because a few features are throwing me off, which makes me believe that perhaps it is a World War II officer's private purchase. But maybe someone else would be able to fill me in. Now, this jacket has some of the features of what I would consider as the ultimate cold weather vintage jacket. It is made from a thick, durable 100% wool in this beautiful olive green fabric. It is 3/4 length, so it comes down to mid-thigh to knee depending on your height, which is a really nice length to have if you're adventuring and moving around and working, because it's going to keep you covered and protected. You can stand around or sit down, but you can also move and it ain't going to get tangled up or, you know, get caught on things. It is a nice double-breasted design which just gives you 2 layers of wool on you to keep all that warmth insulated inside. Big buttons that you can operate, there they are. Big buttons you can operate with gloves on, you don't have to fiddle around too much with them. And there's big shawl collar that you can turn up and it fits under your hat, it fits the shape of your neck beautifully, keeps you real sheltered from storms and winds. And also these ridiculously big pockets at the bottom here. These are so roomy. You can fit gloves, you can fit books, you can fit binoculars, you can fit all kinds of bits and pieces in here. There's wide wool belt matching fabric. I think visually ties it together really nicely, and functionally helps to kind of cinch you in a bit, traps that pocket of warm air up here and stops gusts from coming up so easily. And yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful coat. Cheers for watching, guys. I hope you got something out of this video. If you got any questions, sling them my way and I'll do my best to answer you. If you like this kind of video where I do a bit more of a compilation about a certain subject, let me know. I'd be interested to hear your feedback. Give me a subscribe, give me a follow on Instagram. I got some things in the pipeline which I think are going to be real interesting. Thanks for watching again, guys. I'll see you soon.